Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Muito obrigada, Daniel.
Thank you,
Bom dia a
Daniel.
todos e todas
Good
que estão
morning
acompanhando o
to
painel.
all the members of the
Agradeço ao
panel.
UNAIDS por essa
I thank
invitação.
UNAIDS
Voy a
for the
intentar
invitation,
andar en
and I'm going to
español.
try to
Entonces,
talk
agradeço ao
in
UNAIDS por la
Spanish.
invitación.
And I thank one more
Es de
time
verdad una gran
UNAIDS for the
responsabilidad
invitation.
ser la única
It's a
voz
great
latinoamericana
responsibility to
indígena
be the only
a este
voice
país.
of the
Voy a
civil
hablar en nombre
society,
de gestos.
and I'm going to talk on behalf of
No
others.
voy a
I'm
presentar
not
y
going
no voy a
to
comentar los
present
datos ya
or
presentados por
comment
Dr.
the
César
data presented
Núñez,
by Dr.
pero
Núñez,
solamente decir que en ese momento
but
de una gran emergencia
this
sanitaria
is,
global, ese informe es aún
in
más
this
preocupante.
moment, that
Para
report
nosotros
is
acá
more
en
worrying.
Latinoamérica, principalmente
For
porque
us
son
in Latin
muchas,
America,
múltiples las crisis que
there
amenazaban
were
nuestra
multiple
respuesta inmunitaria
crises that
antes de la
threatened
COVID-19. Y esas crisis
AIDS
todavía han
before
crecido y
COVID-19,
ahora tienen que
and
ser
those crises have
enfrentadas.
increased and
No
have to
vamos
be
a alcanzar
faced
las
now.
metas para
We are not going to
2020
reach
y
the
para
goals
2030 de
for
la misma manera
2030
que no alcanzamos las
as we
metas
didn't reach
de
the goals
2020 si
for
no
2020.
tratamos de trabajar para
We
superar
have
las
to
cuestiones
work
de
to
desigualdad
overcome
que
the
habla ese informe,
inequalities
especialmente las
presented in
desigualdades que
that
son
report,
basadas en género.
especially
Sin
those
eso, no vamos a
based
vencer
on
el
gender.
VIH.
We are not going
Lo que
to
estoy hablando acá
overcome
es de
the
una situación
HIV
verdaderamente
without
dramática.
that. I'm
Todos
talking
los
about a
países de
very
esa
dramatic
región
situation.
rechazan las políticas de
All the
austeridad,
countries in the
se
region
guían por la
reject
evidencia y por
the
una agenda
austerity
basada
policy
en
because
derechos.
they are following
O, por más que se
an agenda
esfuercen los
based on
países de los
rights.
programas nacionales de
Even if the
VIH-Sida, veremos
countries
muy
struggle,
pronto,
we
en
will
unos
see
meses, que las
in a few
respuestas de
months
VIH-Sida
that the
que hemos
response to
luchado y
AIDS
construido durante
that we
décadas
have
van a estar
built
destruidas.
during
Es una cuestión de
decades
tiempo, es una
will be
cuestión
destroyed.
emergencial.
It's
No
a
es
question of
todavía
time.
también una
It's
casualidad que nuestra
not
región,
an
que somos
accident
la
that
región
our
más
region,
desigual del mundo, las
the
economías
more unequal region
polarizadas,
in
con
the world,
industrias atrasadas, con
with
alto déficit
backward
democrático, no
industries, with
es una
high
casualidad que
democratic
ahora
deficit,
seamos ese epicentro de la pandemia
it's
de
not an
COVID-19.
accident that our region is the
Todavía, y
epicenter of the
justamente por eso,
COVID-19.
no
And
es
because of
posible que
that, it's not possible
siguiendo siendo
to
invisibles en la
be
respuesta de la
invisible
cooperación internacional en
for
salud y en
the
género, que
international
sigamos así
cooperation
también
response.
invisibles en las
And
estrategias y financiamientos globales
it's impossible
contra el
to
VIH y el
be
SIDA.
invisible to the
Tal
international
como
strategies for
mujeres y
AIDS
niñas que
and
finalmente son
HIV.
priorizadas en un informe global sobre VIH,
Women and children have to
especialmente las
be
mujeres
the
trans
priorities
y de
on
las
the reports,
poblaciones claves,
especially trans
todavía no
women and
pueden
key
seguir
populations. They
invisibles en
cannot
los
be
presupuestos de
invisible
VIH en
in
América
the
Latina.
Latin
Por eso,
American
es
budgets.
con esto conveniente que les
So
recuerdo
it's
ahora que
convenient
nuestra querida
to
activista
remember you,
Renata Doc,
our
una
beloved
defensora de
activist
los
Renata
derechos
Doc,
humanos,
that
fundadora de la CASO, que
was
construyó una
founder
parte de la
of
respuesta
human rights
favorable de VIH
and
que
built
decidimos hacer
part
nosotros. Ella
of
partió ayer.
the rights
Entonces,
in
en
our
respuesta
region.
a ella y por todas las
And
mujeres
well, she
afectadas
passed
por
away
el VIH
yesterday,
por
and
COVID-19,
because of her
y
and
ahora
all
debemos
the
tener
affected
un
women,
compromiso
we
de hacer
have
mucho
to
más, de
commit
trabajar más fuerte, de
to
trabajar
work
mejor.
more, to work
Quería
better,
hablar un poco del
to work
contexto por
stronger.
donde estamos. El
I wanted
contexto
to
es
talk
muy,
about
muy
the context we are living in
transparente
now.
frente de nosotros y nosotras.
It's very
Tenemos millones de
transparent.
personas que viven con VIH,
There
mujeres
are
y niñas,
millions of
trabajadoras sexuales,
people
personas que usan
who
drogas,
live with AIDS,
migrantes, LGBT,
women,
jóvenes,
sexual workers,
personas con
children, young
discapacidades
people,
privadas de
disabled
libertad,
people,
nuestros pueblos
people
indígenas y
deprived of
afrodescendientes.
liberty,
Todas estas
indigenous and black
personas en toda nuestra región, con
communities,
diferencias, pero en
and
toda la región,
all
están sin alimentos,
those
sin agua,
people
sin
with all
energía,
their
sin trabajo,
differences
viviendo en aglomeraciones urbanas
are
violentas
living
o en campos
in
violentos, zonas rurales violentas y muy poco
metropolitan
saludables.
areas that
Muchas
are
también
not
siguen
healthy,
con
or in
más
rural
temores
zones
recibiendo
that
abrigos por gobiernos
have violent
autoritarios.
environments.
Si
And
esta
even their
situación toma en
rights
cuenta el
are
gobierno en
under
general,
risk because they
peor
are
son
living
las
under an
proyecciones
authoritarian
de
government.
pospandemia para
The
Latinoamérica, que
post-pandemic
apuntan un
consequences
futuro aún más pesado, sin
will be
educación,
worse
sin
because the
salud, con
future
más pobreza,
will not
con más violencia de
have
género, con más estigma y más
health,
discriminación.
education.
Por eso, para nosotros desde
The future will have more
OSCE,
stigmas,
nunca
more
necesitamos
discrimination.
tanto de una
So
ruta estratégica
the civil society
multisectorial,
needs
integrada
integrated and strategic roadmap financed. We need the 2030 agenda that is offered. In this new normality, the policies cannot continue feeding the inequalities. This is the moment. We are under an imminent risk. And the response will be for UNAIDS will be impossible. We have to have a multi-sectoral response. All of this has to be foreseen in the reports. For the first time in the history of Latin America, these items have to fit in the Latin American budgets and not the opposite. What we want from governments is that they implement a tax framework to put an end to tax avoidance, to take resources that can be healing the challenge, overcoming the challenges pointed out by UNAIDS. We know where the money is. We need the cooperation and we need to increase the domestic investment. Today, the population needs basic access to health, social protection, because today our organizations and communities work, and not only the governments. These communities and organizations work to fight the AIDS and COVID-19, even if we don't have the appropriate resources. And we will continue doing it, of course, but it's important that the governments respect and finance these needs. It's urgent that affected people be the center of the public investment. It's this moment where we need to put an end to the empty rhetoric that has no concrete actions. It will be more difficult to forgive the future deaths that can be prevented and will be in the future report. And I also think that governments cannot ask for resilience if they don't give the population the means to be resilient. For me, that's kind of an insult, and we cannot accept it. And to conclude, I want to thank UNAIDS and its team and the people who make this real, changing the reality of women and children. This shows us the necessity to have multi-sectoral organizations to make policies based on evidence. So that's why we congratulate UNAIDS for publishing the reports. And we want to get out of the challenges and without forgetting that we are living an unprecedented situation. Nobody here in the panel or out the panel has experienced a situation like this. So we hope that UNAIDS, under a feminist and anti-racist leadership, together with progressive governments, promote policies that work, and we know which one work works with budget. And as the report shows, it works if the principles are aligned to the rule of law. And those principles must prevail in our region. Those are the items that I wanted to bring for talking about today.